Okay, so this is the video for the 1-point perspective art gallery space. And what you're going to do to begin is create for yourself a vanishing point somewhere in the middle of your sketchbook page. Then what you're going to want to do is create a rectangle around that vanishing point. So I'm going to go ahead and just do a rough rectangle first without my ruler, just so I can figure out where I want it to be. And as you can see, I'm using these sketchy lines. I'm never really going in one straight line all the way down. I'm using these sketchy lines to help me, because then if I make a mistake, they're kind of easier to erase. Okay, so there's my rectangle around my vanishing point, and I'm now going to use my ruler to make the edges nice and straight. So the best way to make sure that you are creating a perfect vertical line, it's not going to be perfect in this example, but you can just use the edge of your sketchbook and see if your lines are parallel to the edge of your page. So I look at my ruler and then I look at the edge of my page and I try and check if they're parallel or if they're crooked or on an angle. And I'll go ahead and do this side now. All right, so I have finished creating my rectangle around the vanishing point. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to match our vanishing point to the corners of the drawn rectangle and then draw them out to the edges of the page. And that's okay if that's not the same line. I'll show you what I mean. So I'm going to line up my ruler so that I'm touching my vanishing point and I'm touching my bottom left corner of the page. You could start with any corner, but here's my example. You'll notice if I draw a line now going all the way through, it's not going to hit the corner of my page, but that's okay as long as it hits the corner of my rectangle. Now I could draw the line through the inside here, but I would have to erase it later. So I'm just going to make sure that my line is, my ruler is lined up to my vanishing point, and I'm going to draw the line going from outside of this box to the edge of the page, and I'm not pressing too hard because part of this line is going to get erased. I'm now going to do the same thing to the top corner. So I want to make sure that I'm lining up my ruler so that I'm touching both the vanishing point and the corner. You'll notice I brought my ruler down because if it was all the way up here, it's going onto the spirals and it's making my ruler not lie flat, which makes it hard to draw a line. So make sure that you bring your ruler down so that it can be flat on your page, and you're going to draw from your vanishing point to the corner. Well, you're not actually going to draw there. You're going to draw from the corner out to the edges of the page. And now I'll do my other two corners. Okay, so I finished drawing the corners from the rectangle out to the edges of the page, and as you can see, it kind of looks like it's inside of a room now. But now, instead of having it be one long room, each of these side walls is actually going to stop and go into some flat walls that are going to face us. So all we need to do to make that happen is line up your ruler so that you're parallel to the edge of your page. You want to be somewhere in between the line that you've created and the edge of the page. It doesn't matter exactly how long you want to go, and go ahead and draw a vertical line. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. It could be shorter, it could be longer, it just depends on how long you want this wall to be. So I'm going to go about there, so I'm approximately similar to the other side of my page. All right, and now what I need to do is these walls don't look right, so what we're going to do is make sure that these walls, just like this wall is facing us, and these walls are facing the side, these two walls are now going to face us. So to make that happen, we want to draw a horizontal line going from the top and bottom of each of these vertical lines. So what we're doing is we're kind of making a backwards cube. So if you remember when we did the cubes, the 1-point perspective cubes, this is the front of the cube and this is the side going back into space. So we just kind of created the sides first, and now we're creating the front of the cube. So again, it's just a horizontal line going from your verticals to the edge of the page. And now we need to do a little bit of erasing, because that's why I told you to draw light, because we don't really need this edge right here. You know what? We're going to leave it because we're going to use that edge to help us make the floors. Where we don't need it is at the top. So let's go ahead now and look at how to create the floor of a gallery. So usually in a gallery, it has wooden floors, which have slabs. So in 1-point perspective, anything that is on the ground or on the ceiling is going to angle towards our vanishing point. So I'm going to flip my sketchbook upside down just to make this easier for myself. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a notch at every inch mark along this edge of my page. And this is why I turned it upside down, because now I have a place for my ruler to go. So I'm going to just draw a tiny little notch at each of the inch marks. Doesn't have to be perfectly even, as close as you can get to the inch marks. And what you'll notice now is the sketchbook is actually 12.5 inches, I believe. So I'm going to stop there at my 12. I've got an extra ½ inch there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up my ruler so I'm touching the vanishing point, and I'm going to go from each of my notches up till I hit my square. And that's going to make me my wooden floor. So I've gone all the way up until I hit the square. Now I'm moving over, making sure my ruler is still touching my vanishing point, oops, and drawing my line. Continue all the way across the page. All right, so there we go. I have finished the floor. I'm noticing there's quite a large gap in between the line that I had already there and my first inch line. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do from the corner to my vanishing point so that I don't have such a big gap. All right, and there we go. So there is the floor of my art gallery. Now I have these two little areas here on the side. I'm gonna go ahead and add some floor lines there as well. So it looks like it's still part of this room. So I really just need one little corner piece there and another piece right here. So my floors are now complete. Here is the basic pieces of my gallery, and now the next step is to work on the artwork. Okay, let's go ahead and look at how we're going to create, sorry for that shaking there, how we're going to create our gallery, our actual images on our gallery walls. So the first thing you need to do is you need to number your walls. We're gonna start with the walls that are facing us, and those are gonna be 1, 2, and 3. Now again, if this is your good copy, you wanna be doing this really light to make it easier for you to erase later, but for your rough copy, it doesn't matter. So we've got walls 1, 2, and 3 facing us. Walls 4 and 5 are facing inwards. They're side walls facing inwards. And the reason why we're labeling these is because we're gonna draw our gallery items different on walls 1, 2, and 3 versus what we're gonna do on walls 4 and 5. So let's start with walls 1, 2, and 3 because those are our basic walls. All we need to do for those is draw regular squares or regular rectangles, or if you're doing circular frames, you do circular frames. So to me, it looks like this wall kind of gets cut off, like it continues down this way if my page was longer. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to make some of the images in these frames look like they're getting cut off. So I'm just gonna start by drawing some rectangles. But again, they're gonna be cut off a little bit. So you do want there to be a little bit of variety in some of the frames that you're drawing. So maybe some of them are squares, some of them are rectangles, some of them are short, some of them are long. It's really up to you how you want to do it. So let's just look at this trick for how to divide some frames and make it easier for yourself, but make sure they're also all in line with each other. So I've just drawn a really long rectangle. I'm going to divide this rectangle into 3 smaller rectangles. So all I'm going to do is line up my ruler, making sure it's horizontal, draw a line. I'm going to then draw another line below that, and then I'm going to erase the little in-betweens. And now I have one small floating frame, and I'm going to create 2 more. So just a horizontal line, skip a bit, another horizontal line, and then all I have to do is erase the little in-between, and I've now created 3 frames that are all directly underneath each other. So that's a trick you can use. Let's go ahead and make a few more frames here on our back wall. Okay, so I have finished placing frames on walls number 1, 2, and 3, the walls that are facing me. Now is the tough part. These are the walls that are facing the inside, going back into space, the depth walls. So let's have a quick look at how to do those. So you're going to want to start with the part of the frame that will be farthest from your vanishing point. So my vanishing point is still there. It looks like a little doorknob. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to draw a vertical line right here. Now, to make this easier for myself, I'm going to be drawing one large frame, and then I'm going to be dividing it into 4 sections, similarly to how I did this one. So I'm going to now go from the top and the bottom of my vertical line to my vanishing point, just like when we were creating our cubes. And the last thing I have to do, well, it's second last, is I need to close my frame by creating another vertical line. Now what I want to do is I want to divide this frame into 4 sections. So I'm going to go ahead and do that by finding approximately the middle and creating for myself a line, creating for myself an additional line so that I can separate these 2 pieces. You know what? I actually really like the way it looks with just the 2 of them. And And now I'm going to create one piece, let's say, hanging up on this number 4 wall. So again, I'm starting from the vertical line of the frame that's going to be farthest away from my vanishing point, and I'm going from the top and the bottom to the vanishing point to create the top and the bottom of the frame. And then my last vertical line. Now, if you would like to try and make your frames look 3D, all you need to do is almost turn them into like a block letter where you're drawing an inner line around each of the edges. And then what you're going to do is you're going to draw a little diagonal connecting the corners. Now, you actually don't have to go all the way to the edge with your horizontal and vertical lines because you're going to have to erase them anyway. And then you're going to need to put in that diagonal line. So just doing that creates the look of a 3D frame. And if you want to make it look like it's a canvas on the wall, so it's popping out, all you need to do is go to a corner and make an angle and repeat that angle 3 times. So 3 parallel-ish angles, and then you're just going to connect the edges of them. So essentially you're making a block outside of the frame. So once you have gotten to this point, along with me in your sketchbook as a rough copy, you're now going to take a picture of your work and you're going to submit it in Google Classroom so that I can check your understanding. And then what you're going to do is you're going to start working on a plan for your good copy, which will be in the next video.